0 to 60 can define a performance car, but it's the fastest 60 to 0 that's the aim of Tarok's brakes. From road cars to race cars, circuits, special stages, or the autostrada, nothing reduces speed like Tarok's brakes. Italy gave the world the art of Da Vinci and Michelangelo. Tarok's has given drivers the art of stopping. For more information and to acquire your own masterpiece, visit taroks.co.uk. Yes, it's me, Mark Stone, and this is the Backseat Driver Podcast. It's the fastest, it's the friendliest, and it's for all the family. The Gas Shocks 116 Trophy and 120 Coupe Cup are the fastest growing race series in the UK, taking in 6 one-hour races and 8 sprints at all the top circuits. Visit 116trophy.com to find out more and get yourself behind the wheel. The word legend has become much overused and much devalued. However, on December the 5th, 2023, a genuine legend passed away. Rally driver, racing driver, and general fast driver Rosemary Smith passed away in Dublin, quietly with her friends in the Beacon Hospital. Rosemary was many things to many people, also better known as Rosie to her friends, of which I was fortunate enough to class myself as one. She began as a co-driver, and then, like many co-drivers, moved into rallying, considering that she could do a better job behind the wheel than the person she was navigating for. She went on, alongside her well-known co-driver, Valerie Domleo, to secure victory in the 4-day Dutch Tulip Rally. She was disqualified from the Monte Carlo Rally, but it didn't deter her. She went on to many, many great things. She made the Hillman Imp famous. The Hillman Imp made Rosie famous, and together they forged a phenomenal partnership. But that wasn't all. She drove for Ford in the London-Sydney, Ford in the London-Mexico. She drove for Porsche, Opel, Lancia, Chrysler, Talbot, and she had a phenomenal association with Renault. Besides setting a new land speed record in 1978 in Cork, in May 2017, at the age of 79, she became the oldest person to ever drive an 800 brake horsepower Renault F1 car at Circuit Paul Ricard in France, and she did an exceptional job of driving it. Everybody was impressed. In 2018, she penned her autobiography, Driven, from which the podcast was taken. In 2019, when I was fortunate enough to spend yet another day with her when she was in England to enjoy the Hillman Imp Owners Club annual get-together. She was, of course, guest of honour. She'd been president and chairman of the club for many, many years, and remember, the Hillman Imp boys and girls couldn't get enough of Rosie. And in 2022, she was inducted into the Fédération Internationale des Véhicules Anciens Hall of Fame. She had a driving school. She was still active. She loved driving fast cars fast. In fact, she enjoyed driving any car fast. Her passion for motoring, for motorsport, and for rallying, and to encourage women in motorsport knew no bounds. She was fantastic to spend time with. She was funny. She would tell you stories that didn't make it into the autobiography, and no way would they be repeated with a live microphone anywhere near. But Rosie Smith was just Rosie. She was great to be with, and as I said, her passion for motorsport and rallying knew no bounds. From the moment she first drove a car, the passion to be behind the wheel and to outperform anybody and everybody nearby never left her. And she was the equal of all her contemporaries, all her fellow drivers, and her determination to win or do well was legendary. So sit back and enjoy my 2019 chat with the one, the only, Rosemary, Rosie Smith. From a pot of tea to TT motorbikes. From a classic English breakfast to a full serving of classic cars. Bridge House Tea Rooms is the Northwest premier classic car meeting location for cars, bikes, tractors and owners clubs. So no matter what your automotive appetite might be, visit Bridge House Farm Tea Rooms on their Facebook page or call John and Alicia on 07980 444 221 for show details and to reserve your own table and parking space. Well-known racing driver, rally driver, she describes herself designer, model, iconic sportswoman, style addict. The oldest woman to drive a modern Formula One car in 2017 when she drove an 800 brake horsepower Renault Paul Ricard. Her other claim to fame, disqualified in 1966 from the Monte Carlo Rally after winning the Coupe de Dawn, won the Tulip Rally outright in 1964 in an Hillman Imp. But it's really, Hillman Imp's made you famous, and you made Hillman Imps famous. But Rosemary Smith has made herself famous all over. Rosemary, welcome to Backseat Driver Radio Show, Motoring Northwest.
Thank you.
How did all this come about? Because, I mean, there's a story at 13 of you having to drive your mother to the doctors after she electrocuted herself, and you just jumped in the car at 13 and reversed the other driver.
No, it wasn't quite like that. No, it was not. No, what happened was my dad had a garage, and there were three of us, Pamela, Roger, and myself, and he said, there are two things you must do. One is learn to drive, the other is learn to swim. And Pamela, my older sister, wasn't interested. She didn't bother. Roger, of course, loved being a boy. He just wanted to get and drive. And I was the youngest. And we went out to a field that we owned just outside Dublin. And he just said, right, now I'm going to teach you how to drive and what to do, and so on and so on. So that was when I was 13. And he was great because he just kept saying, go faster. Why don't you go faster? And this was on grass, which was grand because it slipped and slid and did all the things that it really, I stood to me in good stead at that stage. But anyway, I didn't realize. I just said, fine, I would do it. And I thought it was great fun. I really loved it because, wide open field and big steering wheel. Because I mean, the old cars have steering wheels about this, and a gear lever about this length. It was really, they were difficult enough. But my father was very calm, always very calm. He raced a little bit himself in a very amateur way. And like everybody back in those days, like he put his car together himself and he could get pole position, and then it blew up about a few laps later. No, it was frustrating to say the least. But anyway, I learned to drive, and then just a year and a half or so later, I went into our kitchen, had a stone flagged floor, and my mother had been washing something, and the plugs weren't earthed in those days, and we had an electric shower, and she went to pull the plug out, and of course it wasn't earthed, and the next thing on I could see sparks flying. Luckily I was there, and she just fell down on the floor. But while she was falling, she pulled the plug so the contact was gone. So I thought she'd get up, It's funny, when I was 13, I was a child, not like they are today. My goodness, young adults. But anyway, so I thought, what do I do next? But I never thought of going out and picking up the telephone. That never entered my head. So I decided now, I sort of knew how to drive. And the car was in a very narrow driveway, so I had to drag my mother up out of the kitchen, up a few steps, into the hall, down. She had more bruises on her, I can tell you, but she came back to life again. But got her into the car, and then I started, and I had to reverse down the drive. And of course, the drive being so narrow, and I really didn't care. I hit it off one side and then off the other side because there were walls down. So I got her onto the road. Luckily, like in those days, there wasn't much traffic, and got it into first gear. There it stayed, I can tell you, bash down the road, and the doctor wasn't too far away, so I could swing into his driveway, up to his hall door. And I got out and I said, I think I've killed my mother. She's in the car and such and such. So he went out and, oh no, she was alive. So he resuscitated her and so on, and they called the ambulance and she went off to hospital. Oh, she was fine. I mean, it was really just such a bolt she got and knocked her out, basically. But no, I was glad I had learned. At least I could get her there, if you know what I mean. But and then, as I say about the swimming, I learned to swim. My dad, again, of course, taught me to swim. And we were in Spain a few years later, and we were at a swimming pool. And next thing I could see this youngster, I mean, she was probably about 10, and she was going up and down in the water, and she was Spanish, and she was yelling and so on. She's drowning. Nobody's taking the slightest notice of her. So I dived into the swimming pool in great style, and she had this long hair, and I got by the hair, and I started back over to the wall of the swimming pool, and they sort of help. And the family came over Spanish. What are you doing to our daughter? I said, she's drowning. No, she was only playing. So I said, that's the end of my, saving people from drowning. No, thank you. They know what they like from here on in. But I know, good fun. But then after that, my dad was a Protestant. We were all Catholics. Went to Catholic school. The nun rang my dad when I was about 15 and said, come and take your daughter. She's stupid. She won't be working. Well, he was annoyed about that. But what the nun meant, actually, so she said, is that, she really is stupid. She has plenty of brains, but she just won't use them. I had no interest. I had no interest in schoolwork whatsoever. I loved geography, which stood me, obviously, in very good stead then. And then I liked maths, I liked English, all these various things. And and drawing and painting and, anything to do with my hands was fine. And so that's what we did, what I did. But when it came to Irish or French or mathematics, who uses geometry? Well, I certainly don't, because I couldn't make head nor tail of it. But anyway, so he took me away, but I was only 15, and it was wrong. He should have taken me away and put me in another school. I mean, I realised that years later, because I really didn't have very good education. And
but just wait, it hasn't done you studying in too bad a step, though. I mean...
Yeah, but it's fine if I want to do things, as I say, I could hang wallpaper, I could paint windows, this sort of thing, but girls didn't do that. Now they do everything, and they do what they please, basically. No, it didn't, but then I became a dress designer, because I was always, my mom was good at dressmaking, that sort of thing, so I went to the Crafting Academy, I mean, to me, it was child's play. It was sort of cutting patterns and measuring and fine at that and designing dresses. And I specialised in wedding dresses and ballroom dresses. But again, you see, I wasn't a good business person, because I made a wedding dress and supplied the material and everything. And this girl had 6 bridesmaids, 3 children, her going away outfit, and her mother's wedding outfit. But she kept saying, I'll pay you now, I'll pay you, I'll pay you, I'll pay you, I'll pay you. Then she got married, so her name changed from her maiden name to her married name. So she said, well, Mrs. such and such. She didn't order them, so you go after the Miss such and such. So I never got paid. So that put me really out of business. But luckily, in the meantime, I met this woman. She'd come in for clothes, and she was the one who introduced me to radding. So I went radding with her, and we did quite a few, and then we had a big accident. I walked away from it. She had 49 stitches around the top of her head. She survived. But I'm really, you see, sounds terrible, but I said, if you're going to be a co-driver, you've got to take the rough with the smooth. Now, normally the drivers are okay. It's true, the drivers are, because they've got, well, we all have roll cages and now neck braces and all that sort of carry on. But then it was a stealthy, now she was a heavy one anyway, but the seat belts were very minor as they were in the beginning, and they broke. And, she just went straight up and hit the sun shield. Yeah. And it literally scalped her 49 stitches around the top of her head. But, she went through it, and she came riding with me again afterwards. Because what really the thing was that she was married. and she was having an affair with another man. So the only way really she'd get to see the other man was to go rallying. And I didn't know all of this. No, I didn't know it in the beginning at all. I only learned it afterwards. But anyway, so that was that. Then we decided we'd do the RAC in the November, which was the rain RAC, it ran through the day.
The proper one.
I always call it the proper one. It's like the Circuit of Ireland. They still call it the nonsense up in the north. But it's not it. I told them they'd have to call it the Easter Rally because, the Circuit of Ireland was brilliant. The RAC was brilliant. And in the book, actually, I have a lovely picture of myself and Jim Clark, and he was doing it that year. And it's about 3 a.m. at Scotch Corner, and we were having breakfast 3 a.m., mind you. And I'm feeding him sausages or rashers or something. It's a nice picture. I showed to you in my book, Driven.
Yes, we're not one of the things I'm here to know. We are here to plug Rosemary's new book, Driven, of which there will be more later. Well, when you started out, what did you start driving? Because did you go straight into Hillman Imp? So did you start with?
No. They came a long time later. No, I started in the Triumph Herald, would you believe? And it was these sort of little round pylons and all that sort of thing. As I was going forward, I was trying to get it into reverse. And of course, the drive shaft kept breaking one after the other, after the other, after the other. So that came to sort of grinding halt. And then I went into hill climbing and that sort of thing. And a friend of my brother's actually, he lent me his MG TA or GD, or one of those old things, three at each corner. Yeah. That's as far as I know about cars. I really know nothing about them. I know if they go.
I bought from how to drive them reasonably quickly.
Well, yes, but now yesterday we were out on this run around here, and I was actually navigating, though I vowed I could never navigate. I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
I had no interest in it whatsoever. But yesterday, anyway, I sat with this lovely man, and he was driving, and I said, leave it with me. And, after a while, I thought he would realise that I knew what I was doing, because I was just taking them off as we went to this junction and that junction, But even with that now, I was holding the road book down like this, and I'd say, now, come into Tia and turn left, and he'd go, and he'd be bending over to have a look at those road as well. I know he was lovely, but no, after that, then, as I say, we went into the minis. These were Delphine's husband's minis we drove. And then we went to do the RAC in Great Britain. And then I came back to Dublin, and that's in November. And then early December, I got a call from Sally Ann Cooper's aerosol fly sprays, and she said she was doing the Monte Carlo Rally because that was in the January, and she had an ex-works rapier. So she said, we're going to go 3 up. So there was myself, herself, and a lovely girl called Pat Wright, Pat Smith as she is now. And I said, why not? Sure, might as well. But that year it was very snowy and icy, and the only thing I'd driven on before that was the grass. Similar thing, turn into it, and So that was all right. So we slipped and slid from Edinburgh the whole way down. Sally Ann sitting in the back, waving to the crowd, and the picnic basket and the fur coat, I wouldn't get away with it nowadays. But anyway, so that was that, and we got to Monte Carlo. We stayed in their villa. They had a beautiful villa in Villefranche. And then I went to the prize giving and all at the end of it. And Norman Garrett came up, and I didn't know who he was, hadn't a clue who he was. But to me, he was a slimy old man with the hair slicked back with braid cream and, sort of, the way some men's hair turn out in the end, So I thought, and he said, I'd like you to be, our works ladies team. And having been out of bed for day and night there, I said, no, thank you. And that was that. So I came back home, and my dad, that's a lovely man, and I said, this fella came up and he said, would I like to be a works driver? I told him, the only time he was ever really cross with me, ever, really. He said, now I know you're stupid. Oh, touche. But anyway, so unbeknownst to me, my mother wrote to Norman Garrett and said, as from me, said, I'm so sorry I was too tired after the event and so on. And I'd love to be our women's team. So the next I knew of it was in the February. And I got a letter saying, you're now a member of the Works Rally team. So then the first rally we did was, I drove Rapiers for a number of years. And then after that was Alpines. And then the Imps came into being. And whereas the boys, a lot of them, they were initially very rough with them, and they're delicate enough. They're better nowadays because they've got all the new parts and that sort of thing. But they were delicate. And so I stayed with that. And then I'd won so many coup de dames and that sort of thing. And then they said the tulip. And it was good. But even if we didn't finish something, I never looked back. I never had regrets. Some people say, only I hadn't done it. Well, even the Monte Carlo, when we were all disqualified, I said, well, it's over and done with. There's nothing you can do about it.
Don't mind me asking, why were you disqualified?
Oh, it was doing the headlights. They said they were the wrong height beam, and they had to get something, because we were out in Arepi in the December, and we stopped at various garages for fuel and so on. This one man said to us, why are you bothering? You were not going to win anything because centenary year in Monaco. And it means a French car must win and a French driver must win. So we won the coup de dame, and we were well up in class and that sort of thing. It was Thibaut Mackin and Paddy Hopkirk and Renault Alton and all in minis. They were first, second and third, and they were all disqualified as well. So that was that. And there was an uproar over that, a real uproar. But the girls who hadn't even finished, they were French girls in a Citroën, so they hadn't finished, but they still won the coup de dame. And there was a Swedish driver, or Swedish or Finnish, I can't remember, driving a Citroën okay, but he wasn't French. So they said he was the winner, and he said, no, I'm not the winner. And he wouldn't take the trophy. He was very good now in that, because, not mind you, he lost his drive with them after that, as you can imagine. But he said, no, if all the other English are being disqualified, I'm not eligible, I'm not French. So that was that, and then we didn't do it again for a number of years. And then I thought, where did I go after that? Oh, yes, then I think, was it Chrysler bought routes at that
Chrysler
stage?
bought out routes, and they all changed their names.
Yeah, and then they went back to Peugeot after that. But Norman had gone, and then there was the other man after that. And he just wasn't making any headway. But there was Marcus Chambers. And then Des O'Dell was the head mechanic at that stage. And he was everywhere, and he knew all about the cars, and he did everything. I mean, he was really good. But when it all changed over again, and I said to Brian Roots, I said, you have the man working for you already who would be a very good manager. You don't have to call him competition manager if you don't, but that's what he is. And he had everything. He knew exactly where the points should be for the service, and how many miles and how much petrol he needed to carry, and so on and so on and so on. He was really meticulous. So that was grand. So he got the job, and he wasn't in it 6 months when he sacked me. No, I mean, people say, oh, no, that wasn't right. I know it was right. Because at that stage, Andrew Cowan, who was driving for them, he had introduced Louise Aiken Walker, who was his sort of protege up in Scotland. And he said, Des apparently she was very good. I'm not saying she wasn't. But then, she had much better cars because she went straight into driving the Peugeots. And, but she's a lovely person. But she got an MB or one of these things because she drove it into a lake in Spain and got out of it. No, I'm not saying that's the only reason, but it was after that she got the MBE. But I mean, it didn't matter what I won. I wasn't going to get anything like that because after all, I was only Irish.
So, well, every Irishman and Irishwoman I've ever met all drive like rally drivers. I mean, there's the old saying: if you see a road and a sign in the Republic of Ireland that says "slow down, dangerous corner," that's the sign where you change from fifth to third and floor it. As time went on, I mean, you stopped rallying as such. I mean, take us from there to where we are now. I mean, besides the book, of which we are here to plug, from there, where did your motor racing career go? And of course, you carried on doing the other things that you did.
No, I actually didn't. I gave up the dress designing because the thing of standing around a table cutting out bits of fabric just or driving over the Alps. Now, which would you like to do?
It's the Alps.
No, the next thing there was then the London to Sydney, which I did in a Lotus Cortina for Ford of Ireland. BPI 77, I always remember that car. It was gorgeous, but it burned its pistons out and we had to reverse over the Khyber Pass. So we got to Sydney, but I mean, you know, it was such an effort. 12,000 miles up through Afghanistan and Pakistan, India, then down to Fremantle and then across the Nedbar Desert and on two pistons going chuk, chuk, chuk. No, I was determined I was getting there. I didn't care. And the girl who came with me, and she was French, and you said one day she and I did not hit it off at all. But anyway, she tells one story, I tell another. She wanted to manger and she was fatiguée and she didn't like right-hand drive cars and she didn't like Fords and she didn't want to drive, you know, I got so fed up that then her mother gave her a garlic sausage of all things. Madrid, or no, not Madrid, Milan. And plus a little knife. And as we got hotter and hotter going down through the countries and the smell of this garlic, so open the window, do something, get rid of that. And she, come on. No, she didn't understand. She understood bloody well what I meant. But anyway, so eventually I just couldn't stand it any longer. So I grabbed it from her and threw it out the window.
Yeah.
So that was the first bit of us not getting on. But anyway, there were lots of other incidents after that, but too many to have to worry about. And then I did London, Mexico, which was 17,000 miles, and that was British Leyland in a Maxi, a 1475cc engine. Oh, dear.
The powerful.
I never got the powerful one. That's what I'm saying. You know, they were always, because I was only a bird, you know, so I let them run around there at the back of the field. No, thank you, I'm not running in the back of any field. So that was that. And then after that, I went driving escorts for R.E. Hamilton in the north of Ireland. These I love. We did all the British Rally Championships for 3 years. Pauline and I did those, and we won everything we went in for, basically. Then somebody said to be a really good driver, you had to be a racing driver. So I gave up the rallying and I went racing, so which was brilliant. And I loved it, except, you know, I just got bored going round and round and round and round and round. And then I did things like Daytona 24-hour in an Alpine, actually, Sunbeam Alpine. And then I did Sebring 12-hour. And the one time I had a really good car, it was Lotus 22. And it was an American car that was doing it and an English car. There were three of us because you had to do some main laps and so on. And because she was American, she had to start the race. So it was absolutely, I think I'd put on about the third row of the grid with Ferraris and Porsches and things. So I was quite pleased with that because it was fast for a change. So of course she started and she went around the first, around the second, around the third, and then down a straight. Then there was a hairpin and there was old sand here. And then you went away from the hairpin up and around and onto the back straight, which is a disused airfield. And this woman thought she was going to be the first woman into space. So she was so nervous in the car. And, you know, she had wakey-wakeys and sleepy-sleepies and uppy-uppies and downy-down. I said, what do you want? Oh, well, you know. Anyway, so she went down to the hairpin and stuck it straight into the sand. Very first lap. So it said, no, it's rear-engined. And instead of letting the marshals push her out, she revved the engine. And all she did was suck all the sand in. The engine went bang. We were out. I wasn't very pleased. But we did Sebring a number of times, frog-eyed sprites, and owned a BMW at one stage. I just enjoyed it all. The long races, I enjoyed it. But then I said, well, you know, and then I came back to rallying again. So I only, after I financially got into awful difficulty, because my husband had left and left a lot of debts, and then, just one thing to another. It's in the book. Buy the book. No, I said it to you. It's not a book all about driving, seriously. It's a life story and going through the downs and ups. And, you know, you've got to be strong, I could have said back then, I mean, I'd known a Christian for a while. You know, I had 2 dogs. So the dogs and I used to eat Maltesers, which the very worst thing you can feed a dog is chocolate, as you know. But there was Blackie on one side, he was a Labrador, and Zach, a big German Shepherd. And I sat there in the dark, freezing cold, and we had a little fish pond thing out of the back. And I'm looking at it, and I thought, you know, I believe it only takes about a minute to drown. I could go out there, go face down in that. And those dogs knew exactly what I was thinking and where I was coming from. And one put a paw up on one side and looked at me. You know, dogs have these gorgeous eyes. Please, Rosie, don't do it. You know, and then Zach, of course, he was wonderful. He was a rescue dog. And he said the same thing. And I thought, stuff the lot of them. Stuff my ex-husband, stuff everybody. No, I'm going to fight back now. So that was the time then, and I got an offer to have my face done. So I decided about time, because I looked absolutely dreadful. You know, with worry, I got down to about 7 stone, and I'm very tall. 7 stone is a bit like a skeleton. So I decided, no, I'm going to go back. So I went down, and then I had to go and sign on for, you know, unemployed allowance. And you know,
I mean, just not interesting. That's interesting, because when you sign on, you get asked, what do you do? That'd be quite an interesting piece, which brought that in.
No, I was very lucky in the fact that I had no idea that, you know, you had to sign on and you had to do this, that, the other. But I met a very, very good lady, a lovely lady, and she was in one of these social departments, and I was told to go to her and she would get it all worked out. And she knew who I was. And she said, listen, you have to go down to the nearest. But she said, I'll ring through and I'll tell the head man there that you're coming down to see you in his office. So I went down and I had the raincoat up like this, you know, and the hat down to here, and the dark glasses on, and I was like something, you know, like a private detective would. But anyway, and of course this man just walking through the door in front of, hello, Rosemary, how are you? And here the tears running down my face, and I felt I've never felt so low in all my life, that I'd come from winning international events down to having nothing. So anyway, that was that. And I went in and they said, yes, certainly. But the ironic thing is they put me on a back to work allowance, because my sister lived in America and she did all this, the junior driver training, driver's ed, they call it out there. And I decided it'd be great for Ireland. So I decided that's what I might do. My very good friend, she lent me money to get a car. It was the first one I got was a little Mazda. It's one thing and another. But anyway, it took off quite well. But then I went for back to work allowance, which you're allowed 1 year to set it up. First year you don't make money, and second year. So you have 3 years to sort of prove that it's a business. And anyway, the ironic part now is that all these years later, they want the money back. I know it's not funny, and this is going on now.
Buy the book.
But I mean, this is ridiculous. And you must give back. I have to give into this crowd 15 years of, off the accounts. And my accountant said, no, it's 7 years. Oh, no, it's 15 years. We must know, blah, blah, blah. 15 years of accounts. Where would I have 15 years of accounts? Now, the accountant kept them 7 years. That's it. I certainly didn't keep them. But then I lost the house, and then it all went through the courts, and it was tough going. And I just decided, no, I'm going to keep going and do the best I can. So the house it was taken from me, and it was a beautiful house. So I'm now in a little house in the same area, which I'm quite happy. It's got nice neighbours now, because the other one, there were no neighbours around it, and it was isolated. So that's where I am now. Great neighbours, having a ball, doing talks, doing everything, and
driving Formula One. How did the drive in the 2017 Renault F1 car come about?
Well, I was sort of an ambassador. I say sort of an ambassador for Ford at one stage, and then when the new the MD came in, and he's a small little guy with a little grey beard, not like yours at all. His was a little tiny thing. And anyway, he took one look at me, and I took one look at him, and instant dislike. And then when he took over from the man that I knew that had given me the cars. He said, out of the old, in with the new. So that was me gone. So then Renault heard that I wasn't with Ford any longer, and they got in touch and they said, we'd like you to come with us. So I went with them, and I have a lovely Renault all the time, new one every year. And I do a lot of stuff for them, talks, interviews and that sort of thing. But then we were at a dinner, and this is the bridge director, and he was working in London at the time, so he'd come over for the dinner. And James Boyer, he was gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
But you see, I'm very tall, and when he was sitting beside me at the table, and if, what do you do? And I explained what I did and so on and so on. I said, I don't like you French people anyway, going on like this. Just I told him about Monte Carlo, that sort of thing. I know we had a great evening together. And then he said, and you're still driving and so on. I said, oh, yes, anything I can get. So that was the end of the conversation. I stood up and he stood up. So I stood up and then he stood up. He didn't realize, but anyway. But about 3 weeks later, I got a call to say, you're going to drive the Formula 1, and it's out in Polaroid card, and we want your height and your measurements and your, everything for the suits and for, So I said, yeah, grand. But anyway, it all transpired, and I flew out to Marseille and went straight up to Polaroid card, and a beautiful place, and the hotel, they were just magnificent.
The restaurants at Ricard are very good. The ones above the pits. Last time I was there, the food is fantastic.
Yes, it was actually, but I'll tell you, I was so nervous. The first time I was really nervous. And I had my friend, she's here today as well. She's came over from Dublin with me. But she came out with me, and I was very glad she had, because the Monday they fitted me into the Formula 1. And it was get down, go down, go down, go down, go down. And if I'd gone down any further, as I said.
But you drive them with you feet above the rest of you around.
Basically. And I'd never driven with the pedals either. I have the steering wheel. But this was thing, and then which goes up, which goes down. I hadn't actually. But I didn't have enough time. But I went out in a Renault, in a Clio, a little sports Clio that they had there. And just to show me where the track went. Now, they didn't do the Grand Prix circuit. They sort of cut, and I went uphill and down and across the main track in places, quite twisty and so on. And then I went out in the Formula Renault, which was, I think, only 600 brake horsepower. And that was fine. I got on fine with that. And then the head man from Paul Ricard, he said, I'll go out in front of you. Now, he said, don't try to pass me out, because if you do, you're not driving the Formula 1. So I said, I had no intention. I couldn't catch him anyway. And we came in, and he said, no, she's perfectly all right. Let her. She can go out. So that was that. And that was on, I'll say, maybe it was the Tuesday night. I can't remember. It was all so rushed. But the one thing, Alain Prost was there as well, and I hadn't seen him for years down in Monte Carlo. He's lovely. I mean, he was really encouraging. But it was just amazing, because there were so many people, mechanics, timers, drones, helicopters, ambulances, doctors. I said, I hope you have a dentist here. But anyway, so that was that. And I thought, well, there are obviously others going to be out as well. Not when I'm doing it, but I mean, I was only doing a few laps. But it just turned out that, no, these were all there for me. So that made me even more nervous. And anyway, I eventually, and I said to the PR man from Renault, who'd come out from London, and I said, really nice. Look, everything has RS. Everything has RS on it. It's really nice. Rosie Smith, He said, no, dear, Renault Sport.
That's why they applied you, the initial badge.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, that was all right. And then just when I was going to go out in the car, one of the mechanics said, do you see that red button down there? And I said, and I couldn't, because you have a neck brace on. And so I put my hand out. He said, don't touch that. And I said, why? What is it? He said, if you crash and it bursts into flames, you just pull that. Thank you very much. I was nervous enough at that stage. Anyway, then he, just when I was going out, this very nice man, had been showing me around and showing me the bends and that sort of thing. And he said, And he said, of course, they're very difficult to get away from the pits, you know. It's very hard to get, you know, them. I said, Jeremy Clarkson stalled. And I'd done a show with Jeremy Clarkson. I thought it was the biggest load of windbag and horrible man that I'd ever met. No, he knows exactly what I think from him. He was really nasty when I worked with him. But anyway, so he stalled it. And I said, if I have to get out and push it down the pit lane, I'm getting out and pushing it. So that really was a great help. And so I started up, and then I had the earplugs, and this other guy, he was saying, now, a bit more throttle, you know, come on, very, very, because the clutch seemed to be either down or it was up.
Yeah.
there was no clutch, sure there wasn't.
No, the wobbling, yeah.
Oh, don't ask. That's...
Did you enjoy it?
Once I got used to it a bit, and then, you know, they said go round. The learning of the track was no problem, absolutely no problem. But, you know, it was trying to work the gears out and the bends, because some of them were very tight. And then some of them, because as I said, it wasn't a long Grand Prix circuit. They cut just after the pits, you took a right and you went down onto the back straight. And then instead of continuing in a straight line, I had to come up a little hill and around and back down the far side and around and then back onto the straight. And then there was a good straight, and then there was a rise, and then there was a right-hander and another right-hander. And so anyway, when I sort of got a bit used to it, and then I thought, this is fun. I'd love to do it again now that I've done it, but I'd like a bit more practice time, put it that way. But Jonian Palmer was there, he was still with them, and he's such a gentleman, such a nice boy. And he was saying, don't worry now, I mean, really, don't worry about it. Easier said than done. But anyway, that was it. And then I came in, and what was lovely was when I came into the pit lane, there must have been 40 people, and they're all standing around, and they're all clapping away. And I thought, and they brought Pauline out, my co-driver. They brought her out from Bristol, and I only met her just as I was getting into the Formula One, and she burst into tears. Oh, my Rosie. I said, well, what's wrong with you, you know? And then, because I thought, this is the end, she's coming to see me die. and the whole thing, looking back on it, was a great experience. So and that's how that happened. So I'm still with Renault, and I'm giving these talks now about old age and how to deal with old age. Because on Wednesday next, listen to this won't go out, because your program doesn't go out for weeks, but I'd be 82. And I think that's good. And now I'm here in England and with the Imps. And next weekend I'm back again for the Tiger Club. And then after that there's a race in Mondeno. And then after that there's the Deja Vu, which I have the 4.7 litre Sunbeam Tiger. And I'm going back to America for the Sunbeam Tiger due next year, and so on. So as long as I'm able to do it, I do it.
But before we wind up, what's the book called?
Driven.
And where can they get it? Which is a bit of a sore point at the moment.
Well, yeah, I think it's a shame, because the numbers of people who have actually asked me, people stop me in the street that I don't know at all. This is in Ireland, of course. But the people here now, they said some of them got it on Amazon, but there is a new edition coming out. They sold out straight away. What happened was that the man from the publisher, when we asked if we wanted to buy some ourselves to bring to England the first time, he said to this Fred who's organised it, he said, well, I don't know why you're bringing it to England. After all, nobody knows they're over there. So that was my friend Martin. He verbally went through them for a short cut, I can tell you. But they are coming out again, so I'm told, in September. But I mean, I've tried Eason's, W.H. Smith, Dubray, and all, I mean, there are supermarkets or everywhere that have them. And, you know, but the thing is, what annoys me about it all is that when they're not selling them, I'm not making any money. So that's why I bought the first lot myself. And I had to pay, the wholesale price. And then I ordered, that was 500, then I ordered another 500. And they're virtually all gone now. I have a few here today, but not too many.
Well, to make a bit more money, I mean, you can always sell the rights to Hollywood. Where could the film come out?
Well, actually, that you should say that. There's a documentary being done, and then there is a two-part series. I mean, I won't be in it. It'll just be a story about sort of a racing driver or a rally driver and the ups and downs in life and things that you face and have to face, and break up with marriages and losing your house and losing money. But it should have a happy ending. But I haven't found another man. Any man I see these days, he doesn't want an 82-year-old.
Yeah.
Mind you, if I had loads and loads and loads of money and had a mansion in somewhere in Ireland, that might be different, but no, I'm quite happy on my own. I really am.
Rosemary, thank you for spending 40 minutes chatting to me. That's been fantastic.
Is that all?
That's all. She wants to go again. No one can point to it later. Rosemary said, thanks so much for joining me.
It's been a pleasure. And you're gorgeous.
Thank you very much. And I am buying a copy of the book.
The Backseat Driver podcast is brought to you in association with Tim Nash and the Lombard Rally Festival, the UK's premier classic rally demonstrations. From the awesome Group B cars to cars from the golden era of rallying, go to the Lombard Rally Bath social media for dates and venues. Rarely beaten on price, never beaten on service. Whether it's cars, bikes or commercials, Hodder Tyres are the best in the business. And when it comes to tyre expertise and advice to supplying the correct tyres for your vehicle's specific requirements, nobody comes close to David Lakin and the Hodder Tyres team. So give them a call on 01200 613 192 or visit the website at hoddertyres.co.uk.